Hey guys, I just thought I'd make a quick video on my cell phone here. I'll let y'all hear some. Nah, forget it. I'll turn the music down. Y'all don't want to hear all that. But I just want to talk about something. I just got back from the bars and the clubs, and boy, I really hit it off with the chicks tonight. Not. No, I didn't. Just another bud night. I had bad symptoms tonight, so that was kind of part of the problem. I just didn't feel like doing anything, and I'm better now, but that, kind of ruined the time I was there. But, I was just sitting there while I was watching the same old things happen, girls. And one thing I just had to talk about, one girl, I know her, I've seen her before, and she must have picked this one guy. He was young guy, and she wanted to, I guess, go home with him, but he just kind of hung around and waited on her as she had fun with all of her friends, and then he, I guess went with her for the night. I didn't see when they left, but, it's like, wow, he didn't do anything. He just got lucky. He wasn't really good looking. He looked kind of like he was dressed in a Nirvana shirt and all that kind of stuff, but, it's just funny to me, I just think, I was sitting there as I watched that and watched everything going on, guys getting thrown out of the bar because some of them almost got in a fight and, hitting on girls, same old thing, and everybody being something that they're not, I know why they're doing it. It's just, but I was just sitting there thinking about my past and, my life in and of itself. And how people say, like, boy, I miss my young years, man. I'm older now, but boy, when I was young, I had some party years. Bernard Chapin talked about that, he would always talk about that he did have fun in his 20s. He said, I had fun in my 20s, and I had some fun in my, he said in his early 30s, he said, because he's 50 now, 50 or 51, something like that. And he said, in those days, though, I did have fun. And he said, I know a lot of guys now don't have that fun, and he understands that. He said, because I kind of, I was old enough. I was born in the 60s, and my young years were the 90s, He said, I had enough that I did have some fun. And he was talking about, just showing you the sights and sounds, just out driving. I wanted to go get some food, but they were so lined up, I'm going to wait a little while before I go back. But he was talking about, having that time, but he was talking about, when he was young, he enjoyed it, right? And I'm sure if you have a dad or a mom, they might say that, boy, my young years, man, I had some fun, boy, we partied and drank and hung out with our buddies, and we dated girls and had sex with girls, but, they might have talked about all that. Well, I've done the partying thing, not much, but a little bit, and to be honest, it was left wanting. I didn't really enjoy it at all, to be honest. The partying part, drinking, I don't miss, so that's not a problem. Right now, you could hand, which I can't drink anyway because the benzos, but, you could hand me a bottle of booze, and, for free, and I would not even do it. I have no interest in doing it, to be honest. I might drink, if I was able, a little bit at times, just to feel good for a little while. But like party, yeah, I have no interest in that anymore. That itch was scratched. I don't have any interest in that anymore. But it's funny that though everything I ever thought I wanted, when I ended up doing it, probably because partly I'm an autistic person, so I have my issues. That could be partly why some of the things just weren't very fun for me. But, I don't miss it. I'm not sad. I'm not, oh man, I wish I could go back and do that again. Not really. Now that I've done those things, I could care less. But the only thing I haven't done is the girl thing. Like I said, if a group of guys, and just like drugs, you could give me drugs right now, illegal drugs, after what I've been through. And like I said, I couldn't do them anyway because the benzos would destroy me, so I can't anyway. But, you could give me drugs, and I just wouldn't take it. I have no interest in that anymore. I don't care. And it's funny how that is. That, all these things I've done, and I thought, oh man, if I just had this and that, and boy, it'd be fun and blah, 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 and I don't even care. And, God, I may turn around and go back to that McDonald's and just get something to eat because I don't feel like waiting in no stupid line, you know how it is. But, yeah, I mean, I think of that a lot, and I think, man, I don't miss any of that. And I'm thinking, if I had the girl thing, would I miss it? Would I care? I mean, I do think of that sometimes. Like, would I even care? And because I wonder, would I even give a crap? And sometimes I think maybe I wouldn't. I mean, I think just being done with it, and I do think, I don't encourage these lifestyles, but sometimes it is the best thing to just, have your fun and go on, But my main thing is I really regret, I think, getting started so late because you feel so weird, It all feels awkward. When you're 21 years old, yeah, you ain't gonna feel awkward hitting on girls. I mean, you'll feel awkward, but you're not gonna feel like I shouldn't be doing this. You're not gonna feel like it. When you're older, you 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I'm sure, you feel weird. You feel like I shouldn't be there. And I'm sure there's single guys who would go to the bars and clubs if they thought they could still get women, but I think they also don't go because they feel like I shouldn't be here, And that's hard. Because if you feel like you shouldn't be there, like, oh, I don't belong here at all, that's really frustrating. But, I mean, I've had some good times, but God, have I had some bad times. A lot of bad times in my life. But there's one thing I was sitting there thinking when I watched his videos, him talking about, when he was younger, he had his fun, and me not having that, because I didn't have any of that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't have any of that if you're watching my channel. And I was thinking about those videos in my life, and then I was thinking about watching those guys in there, and I just thought, the only years I really miss were my childhood. And I mean kid. And even them years were rough because I struggled in school because of my autistic disorder. The things were my autistic symptoms were much worse back then than they are now. I'm sure because you naturally develop, as a human being, as you get older. And so that wasn't perfect, but the years that I miss, I think, were my young years, my kid years, because as bad as things were, I had no friends, I sucked at everything, I didn't have much of a life, because we were all so poor, so I didn't have anything, after my dad died, we fell out of the middle class and fell right into basically poverty. That's what we fell into, and the last thing that I miss, or the only thing I should say that I miss is my kid years, because I could get away. You didn't have the internet or any of those things. I didn't back then, but I could go back in my room. I had a TV, and I would watch cartoons. Back then, cartoons, movies. I could play video games. I had a Nintendo. I think I had a Super Nintendo. I can't remember. But I had those things, and, I could get away. It was just, that's the way it was. You could at least get away. And those years I miss. And, of course, I miss being healthier. I'm having a lot of problems now, and that I miss. But really, other than that, I don't have anything that I miss. Because I didn't have any good times. I don't miss my teen years. They sucked. They weren't any good. I didn't have any friends. I didn't drive. I didn't party. I didn't have any, nothing. And I never had a girlfriend, so, why would I miss any of those years? I didn't drive during those years, obviously. So why would I miss them? And it's hard to know that you don't miss any years. But I was just sitting there thinking about that. The only years that I miss are my childhood, my kid years, because I could just get away from everything. And back then, I didn't worry about the future and, oh, God, I'm going to be alone. Oh, my God. Because you're a kid. You don't think about those things. And I just got away, and it was like I could live my own life, and everybody just left me alone, And I don't know. It's pretty sad, but what do you do? You know, that's all I had. And I remember I'd watch professional wrestling. You know, I lived in my own world. I remember one time, of course, part of that was my autistic problems, but I was flapping my hands, you know, one time in front of, I think it was my sister's band director, because, you know, we always went to her band practices, my sister, and I was sitting there, and, you know, I'm flapping my hands, and I'm kind of dancing around like autistic kids do. You know, this is when I was a kid. And I remember him saying, boy, he's just in his own little world, isn't he? And I was. Part of that was autism. Part of that was just, I was treated so poorly by people I didn't care. And like I said, if it wasn't for fearing taking care of myself, dude, I wouldn't care now. And if I was over the benzo withdrawal, I'd probably just stay to myself. I wouldn't even care because I don't want to be around people very much. You know, I have natural desires for girls, but, I mean, if you take that away, I don't have much of interest in hanging out with people. I tried doing that, thinking, oh, I should do this, and that all ended in disaster, and I ended up hating it. And, you know, because guys are just horrible to be around, and of course I was always, I think in some ways I could never succeed around them. I always felt like I was worthless, you know, they were always better at everything than I was, and it made me feel less about myself. So in some ways I'm happy being alone, but eventually you will be alone, and that's the problem. You need help, and like I said, I think if I had, and this is the thing, when I got out of school, if I could have got married, I think things would have been better. If I could have met a nice girl, and there were some girls in high school that liked me, but I was ashamed to date. I was ashamed of going out and meeting people because I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. And it made me feel like less of a man because all the guys drove but me. I think there was only one or two other boys that didn't drive, but that's because they couldn't afford a car. You know, they were kind of like us. They didn't have any money, but they drove. They had licenses, and it was just, I don't know, man. I think I was just born to lose sometimes, but I think the best thing would have been for me to have met a nice girl. Would the marriage have worked? Who knows? It may not have, and that would have been a disaster. But I think the best thing for me, even though I didn't want to be married back then, I had no interest in it. I really did. But like I said, I'm sure that's probably because of my autistic disorder. I didn't think like everybody else. So there you go. But I think my thing was, if I had gotten married right out of high school or gotten married a few years after and had my own family, I think things would have been different for me. I think it would have gave me just something to smile about. And, you know, I would have had my own life, and that would have been it. And I wouldn't have had to deal with all this crap that I've had to deal with in my lifetime. But I guess that's about all I got to say, guys. So in closing, the only years that I miss, my childhood. Not my teen years, not my young adult years. I sure won't miss the rest of my years because I don't think they're going to be much better than the last. If anything, they're getting worse. So, yeah, that's about all I got to say. And I'm sure some of y'all have the same experiences. And, yeah, that's all I got to say. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.